Hello, hello. Here we are once again on the Tuesday. Uh, we're making something that I have tried to make before. Hello, you're already here. Welcome. You got here for the intro. I just cleaned everything up while I was having the intro thing. Wait. Um, we're making something that I've tried making before, but I didn't have all the right ingredients. This time, I think I've got everything. So I'm going to try to make it properly, and that is Filipino sweet spaghetti, which is quite the thing. Um, it's it sure is quite the thing. There's some history behind it. It it dates back to the World War II era when U.S. soldiers coming into the region brought all these American food items, and the locals fell in love with quite a few of them, and have incorporated them into these fun local dishes. So it's got a maybe less than appealing starting point, but dang, they've taken some of those ingredients that we just take for granted and done really interesting things with them. And this is no exception. Let me straighten up here. It's got a few steps to it, and I tried last time I tried making it. I tried making it with the American versions of the ingredients, but it turns out in the intervening time those ingredients have changed, and the ones that they're using in the Philippines aren't the same as the ones that we're using in the US. But I found some of the originals, and you may have seen them on previous shows. One of the keys is this stuff, our banana ketchup. I tried doing it with tomato ketchup, not realizing how different they taste. Banana ketchup is sweeter, less savory. Uh, I've got it, and I've actually been quite enjoying using it. As you can see, I've gotten about that far down in the bottle. It started up there, so it's a it's a decent thing. Another key ingredient that I hadn't found the first time, but I've found this time: red hot dogs. They aren't quite as shockingly red, um, but they sure are red hot dogs. The key, I believe, is that they are the red color is going to not. You can't taste the red color. Um, but they're not beef hot dogs. That's another key element. So I don't think that because I the hot dogs had such a clashing flavor, and I think it was because I was using like an American beef hot dog. Um, so we've got our red hot dogs. I haven't cut into those yet, so we'll see what they look like on the inside. Uh, and yeah, I've also done reading, and there's all sorts of variations to this. So I've done some reading, not just grabbed one recipe and said that's the one I'm going to use. I've read about a variety of recipes, and they're all a little bit different. So I think I've found a good compromise version. Here, I'm getting stuff out on the counter. We can switch over there. You can see my little face in the corner. We can get counter cam. And I've got a chunk of bell pepper left, so that's perfect for that. I also have a maybe a twist that I want to throw at it, but lots of sort of odd ingredients have came up in my research. I will get them all out and go over them. And apparently that one's not open yet. Um, but you bet you know this. What do you think? What do you think I'm going to do? at this point before I've actually done it. I've got the spaghetti too. Let's see. I should pull up a reference just to be on solid footing. Um, Otherwise, I'm just going to keep getting stuff out. So I don't know the full history of this dish, but it really seems like there was a there is more than just spaghetti showed up and they tried to recreate it, because the elements remind me a lot. I'm going to move the gentleman. So I've got a lot of things here. The elements remind me a lot of like a description of an Italian bolognese, but not an example. So we've got the easy ones. We've got the banana ketchup, which was itself developed because there was a lack of tomatoes in the region, and they fell in love with ketchup and wanted to make their own ketchup locally. Uh, the red hot dogs, which I'm not sure why red hot dogs specifically took over, but hey, who am I to argue? We've got the red hot dogs. Bell pepper, onion, and carrot form an approximation of a sofrito or a Three Sisters. That's that's probably the wrong thing. The because this combination is used in like Louisiana cooking. We've got ground pork, and that's the thing. It's this combination, which is like a mirepoix. It's two kinds of meat. It's got milk in it, which you put in a bolognese some of the time. It is this one. It does have tomato sauce in it. I've gotten a generic tomato sauce because I was trying to figure out what kind of tomato sauce they use. It's just, quote, Italian tomato sauce. But it doesn't, for people who have moved into the area and tasted it, they don't think it tastes like either American Italian tomato sauce or Italian tomato sauce. So it's something else. So I got as generic of one as I could get. It should be perfectly smooth and not chunky in there, hopefully. Some tomato paste because you want to amp up the tomato flavor. Obviously, spaghetti. And this is something that I settled on this one of my options. Some of the recipes called for beef stock, uh, and a couple of them called for fish sauce. Either way, it's some sort of umami concentrate to kind of boost it up. I'm going with fish sauce because I think that's going to be a good complementary flavor in this. And then we've got salt, pepper, and sugar. Oh, and garlic. I've also got the right kind of cheese. Well, a kind of cheese. I use a brand of cheese I've never heard of and can't find anywhere. Um, I've got a shredded American blend that should be very similar to the highly processed cheese that is supposedly the cheese that you're meant to use. Yeah. So let's. We're going to pan out for the main event. I'm going to get a pan out and start boiling some water. But yeah, it's got a lot of things going on, and it sounds like it's in the realm of Italian food, but it's just kind of not quite the same. And like I said, I did try making this once before, and I didn't quite like it, but I used like modern tomato ketchup, modern American tomato ketchup, and uh, a different kind of hot dog, like a smoky hot dog. There was just some things about it that I think threw it off. And I don't think that there's an inherent problem with the recipe. First, well, it's very popular in part of the world, so it is something they're doing something right because a lot of people like it. Um, but I don't think that my adverse reaction to it had anything to do with a particular problem with the recipe. I think it was just that I took ingredients that I had locally and tried to substitute them in, and it didn't quite work. I've also cut the recipe down a bit because I'm trying to make not a massive amount of it. All the recipes for this make a huge vat of the stuff. So my proportions might be a little bit off this time just because I've had to sort of pare it all down. Um, yeah. So over on the stove, I don't know. For some reason, I'm feeling high energy today. You may notice I'm a bit more fast chattery than usual. Oh, let's get my Twitch panel back up. So I'll tell you about it. I had an interview yesterday morning, and I feel like it went quite well. I also got a good night's sleep uh, last night, which I haven't had for several days. I've been having a rough time in the old sleep department. First, it was the heat, and then I'm not sure if it was nerves or what. Um, I'm starting the pan here with the pork because I want to render out some of the fat and use the fat from the pork to then fry other things instead of adding a bunch of oil because I've had a bunch of time. That's probably a factor as well, Felix. Um, I was not going to bring up current political drama, but boy, there sure has been a lot of it. Um, anyways, ground pork is rather fatty, and the recipes say drain off extra fat. Well, I'd rather not add oil and then render the pork and then pour some of my oil away. So if we can get the rendering started and then use the pork fat to cook other things instead of adding more oil, that would be better. Also, welcome in, Felix. Last time I made this, I took a picture and you called it Cincinnati chili, which I have to say is not entirely out of the realm. Uh, okay, while the pork's getting itself started, I'm going to take us back over to the countertop and start portioning things out, especially the garlic, because I need to crush it up so it has a chance to get all delicious and garlicky before it gets thrown in. Boy, I'm super excited about having the Saturday brunch. Everyone said, "Oh, you're on so early," but was on any later, I wouldn't have been done in time for my own midday lunch. So, poo. I've never heard Felix use that phrase, so I've heard you use that phrase describing my cooking more than once. Sometimes food isn't pretty. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be tasty. Let's get out a proper cutting board. Even though my black panel there is, in fact, a cutting board, I don't like cutting on it because it's a really cheap plastic one, and it gets cut marks in it pretty easily. This is quite a large clove, so I'm going to break it into chunks before I mash it. We're working with an actual masher today, which I tested out making the Korean beef I did yesterday, and I actually tried putting ginger through it. And let me tell you, that technically works, but it's difficult. Um, so I would say stick to grating your ginger, not try to mash it. This is a masher I just got recently, so I'm still testing it out. It was $1, so if it's not great, then no huge loss. But it gives a slightly less fine crush or mince than grating, which I think might be nice in some applications, because when you grate a clove of garlic, it goes to just complete mush. Like it goes to a paste. Whereas this leaves it a little bit chunkier, but it's a little bit harder to get out, and you lose a little bit more in the process. So, straight off, we're still testing it. This is only the second time I've used it ever. It is easy clean, which is a nice feature. So, we've got 1 clove of garlic. Do I want to do 2? Oop. This back over to the stove because my water is boiling. We're going to do the spaghetti far enough in advance that I can drain it and let it sit, because I want to toss it in my sauce anyways. Although, unlike an Italian version, we're not going to be using the pasta water to zhuzh the sauce. Um, but it can be done plenty in advance. Felix votes for a 2nd clove of garlic. Okay. Can do. Let me just push my pork around. But we want to make sure we're getting rid of all of our pink bits. We're going to take this out of here and then return it later. So it doesn't have to be cooked 100% to the completion at this point. But I do want to have all the raw pink bits gone and the fat as rendered as I can get it before I take it out of there, because I want to have enough fat in the pan to fry off other things. And we're going to take our pasta down a couple notches. Okay. Back over here. I just rinsed off the crusher after I did 1, thinking it only needed 1. But now we're doing 2. So I guess I'm just going to grate the second one to make it easier. Eh, okay. Microplane grating garlic is an extremely effective way. I've promoted this before. It's an extremely effective way of quickly taking a clove of garlic into a paste. And you even have a convenient little handle with a little hard nub on the end, so you don't have to cut it off in advance. And then the back, not the blade, but the back of a knife conveniently scrapes off the garlic. Get it all in there. Get it all up in there. And always rinse your garlic mashing tools off as quickly as you can, because garlic is very sticky, and if it dries, it becomes even stickier. Set that garlic aside, because it just needs to rest on itself now. Keep an eye on my various things. You may have seen me sharpening my knives just before the start here. They are handy for specifically this purpose. This is supposed to be a mince. We're doing basically the consistency of a mirepoix, the French thing that's made of celery, carrots, and onions. You don't want. We're looking for not big chunks when we're done with this. This carrot is stiff, and this knife, despite my just having gone over it, not the sharpest in the world. This one's going a little off on me. I may have to run it through the actual ceramic sharpener soon. Oop, I got one stuck to the side too. One unfortunate thing about this dish I'm making is that it looks a lot like normal spaghetti, like Western spaghetti, when it's done, but it sure doesn't taste like it. At least the version I had before. Again, it's the first time I've made it the theoretically proper way. I think the pork should probably come off the heat now, since it's going to be returned later. I don't want to overcook it into an absolute disaster. Uh, so I will do that real quick, like. And again, I'm trying to get it out of there and leave the fat in place. So we're going to go with the slotted spoon and hope not too much of it falls through. Of course, as the probably left this is a little bit too long, because as the water cooks out of your meat, the fat goes into the protein fibers, which is what makes meat juicy, but it also pulls it out of the pan. So we may have actually let that one go a touch too long because it's picked some of the fat back up. So I think I do need just a hint of an additional oil, which I will use a spray for because it adds very little extra. And get back, oh, the next step. Okay, I'm going to finish mincing this carrot, stick it into a bowl. I should have done the next step next, but the next step is actually the hot dogs. So since this is already here, we will finish off the carrot. I kind of wish this recipe had things that are different colors in it. It's a lot of red. It has tomatoes. It has red hot dogs specifically. Uh, I'm using a yellow bell pepper, but it called for a red bell pepper. It's using carrot, which is orange. And the banana ketchup, despite being yellow in its natural form, always seems to have red dye added to it. So they really wanted this to be a red dish. So there you go. Eh. Oh, how do you get this open? It doesn't open like that. There's like a peel flap here, but it doesn't actually peel. Okay. Red hot dogs. Which we are going to slice on the bias. Ooh, these are red all the way through. Okay. So I've seen cross sections of the actual Philippine red hot dogs, and they are even brighter red than this, but only on the outside. They're almost white in the middle. Like they make them and then they dip them in red color. Whereas these have clearly been made with the red color included in the mix. I also just opened this package, so I don't even know what these taste like. I smell something burning. Or do I smell? Nope, I don't smell the hot dogs. I think I probably smell the oil in the pan overheating because there's nothing in there. So let's get the hot dogs in there real quick. These hot dogs are a combination of chicken and pork. I believe that the Filipino ones are either just pork or just chicken. I know they're not beef. That's the key. Again, I couldn't find the actual Filipino ones. I had to find something that was the closest approximation. I'm supposed to fry them around by themselves until they brown. I got the camera on the right side. I do not. Stove focus. Also, our noodles have been in there for plenty of time. So while the hot dogs are getting started, I will take the noodles out and drain them. They also will have a chance. Oh my god. One of the noodles went right through the strainer. It came out in a straight line and ran right through one of the little holes. Okay. But I couldn't find either all pork hot dogs or all chicken hot dogs. I could only find mixes like this. And they are fully cooked already, so I could have just eaten them straight, but purpose of this fry is to get the little browning on them that you're seeing. Probably being a little bit too vigorous with them there. Those are not going to take very long at all. So I'm going to do a really quick mince up on my onion. Should have prepped my ingredients all and then started cooking instead of doing what I'm doing now, which is prepping things while other things are cooking. Pro tip, don't do what I'm doing. Eh. Especially given how quickly they started to brown, I bet you they are done. Oops. Ow, they're hot. They're hot to the fingies. They have picked up a lot of the remaining fat in the pan just by themselves, too. Let's get them out of there. Again, they'll be going back in and have a chance for more. Take the heat down just a touch, and we do need some more oil because they picked up all of the oil that was in the pan. So while this oil, well, that oil is immediately hot because the pan is already hot. Pan's gonna have to sit there and wait for a sec because my onion's not ready. So where am I? I'm on the wrong side. Took a little break from Filipino food after the string of successes that I had. So let's hope I have a continued string of successes now that I'm back on it. This might not be another trend. I just happen to have all the ingredients at the same time after having found those red hot dogs. You may have heard from me that I was in the market for a microphone. Well, a generous donor from the audience, from the community, has opted to foot the bill for a starter mic, and I have hesitated to pull the trigger on the purchase because I don't know a lot about mics, and I'm just too, like it's got all the things I want, and I've seen it in action. So I think it's good, but I'm super hesitant because I have no experience with microphones. So I've got it saved, and I keep looking at it, and then looking at more reviews, and ugh. And it's becoming more and more appealing sounding since it's gotten hot, because I could use it to get rid of this big headset. Oops, I just noticed that this is still on. The headset was not a problem when it was cooler, but since the heat has rolled in, Having this big headset makes my head sweaty here in the kitchen. Not so bad when I'm not cooking, but there's a lot of ambient heat and humidity in the kitchen. Okay. I'm going to do one more lobe of that, but I want to get this part started first. So get all those guys in there with a pinch of salt. And they can be started because they need to render down a bit. They need to soften up and shrink before we go to town with all the other ingredients that are going on them. I think I'm going to end up making more than I can serve to one person, even though I've cut the recipe down. But we'll see. Maybe I'll make tacos out of the leftovers. Who knows? Bizarre hybrid food. Eh. So I think using a yellow pepper will actually enhance the sweetness of this finished product because, in my experience at least, the yellow pepper is sweeter than the orange pepper, which is sweeter than the red pepper, which is sweeter than the green pepper. And no, a green bell pepper is not just an unripe red bell pepper. They're different varieties. They're different cultivars, but the level of sweetness does seem to be linked to the pigments in the fruit as well. Okay. Actually going to bring you down even a little bit more because I don't want this to fry before it can sweat out and sweeten up. Uh, much like making a mirepoix, you want to cook it a little bit low, which encourages the sugars in these vegetables to express out. And adding salt helps that because it draws water out of them into the pan, and then the free water in the pan prevents the heat from shooting up too quickly. I could actually add a splash of water to this to slow it down a little bit, which I think I'm going to do while I assemble some other odds and ends. Not too much. But it'll slow it down. Hi, Goldie. Welcome in. We're partway through the process. Got red hot dogs. Oops, I'm on the wrong screen. We've got a kind of sofrito going. We've got our red hot dogs and our ground pork, which are setting aside for the minute while we prep the rest of it. Spaghetti's already done. Now we just have to sort of assemble the saucy components. And then the sauce has to kind of stew together a bit. So we've still got a bunch of time on this one. I'm actually going to put the hot dogs away before I move on. Yes, they are very red hot dogs. Red hot dogs are apparently the standard for this dish. Um, I yes, there's food dye in them. Um, I keep running across Philippine things that have quite a lot of food dye in them, and for example, if you haven't seen it, I know I was showing it off at the beginning. This stuff. This is banana ketchup. The red in it comes from food dye because bananas aren't red. Um, but the makers wanted this stuff to be red. Oh, well, this is a bit of an oddball, in my opinion. It's a bit of an oddball amongst Philippine food because it's a lot of Western ingredients and ideas that have been adapted and then recombined in a weird way into something that looks like an Italian dish. um, it's a bit of an oddball. I made lumpia a couple weeks ago. That's a more traditional Philippine thing, and those are so good. Um, if you get a chance, if you're I don't know where you are. If there's any Philippine restaurants nearby, um, I'd say give them a go. Philippine food is surprising. Like it takes left turns and uses ingredients that you might be familiar with, but it uses them in completely different ways. Um, it's really creative and dynamic from my perspective in America. Um, what was I doing? I need to open some cans. They've got all these various cans. I got the smallest available evaporated milk. Again, I think because the recipes are all like these big vats, and I think they're oriented around the fact that evaporated milk comes in a 7-ounce can. Um, and that once you open it, you've opened it and you're done. Uh, this is the smallest can I could find, which is smaller than 7 ounces, but it's not half. So I'm probably gonna have extra of this as well. Um, and our tomato sauce, which I wasn't able to find a clear answer as to what is in the Philippine version of tomato sauce. It comes in a jar that's just labeled Italian tomato sauce. But nobody thinks that it tastes like Italian sauce. It's just like a sweet tomato sauce. Um, so let's give this stuff a taste with my little taster spoon. Oh, I got you on the sofrito. So there's our evaporated milk. This stuff's interesting. I've gotten more and more attached to it as I've experimented with it. Oh, okay. That's probably good. It just tastes like a lot like tomato juice, but concentrated. It's been only lightly cooked. I'm going to say that is roughly what I'm looking for. Push my sofrito around. Hope this comes out well because I am on course to having enough to serve 3 people. Using the wooden spoon, and I don't know why I'm still using the wooden spoon. I do have a reference recipe so I can get the order of things right. Oh, the garlic. Okay. Almost forgot it, but we're not too late because it can go right into the sofrito at this point and fry up because the sofrito is not quite done. Uh, wooden spoon, you're retired from this dish because you were there for the meat and I just kept using you. Can't forget the garlic. It's okay the garlic wasn't in there right at the beginning. Garlic cooks much faster than the rest of these things and has a higher risk of burning because it's very sugary. Although this whole dish is going to be very sugary. Um, and a scraper to scrape off my scraper, which I do more often than I think I should. Uh, yes. No, no, not condensed milk. This isn't sweetened condensed milk. This is evaporated milk. Um, which is just milk that's had a lot of the water taken out of it. So it is a bit sweeter than milk because it's just been concentrated and there's sugar in milk. But it's not got extra sugar added to it. It's you know, I like Spam. So don't count it out. Uh okay. So once I am satisfied that this stuff is sofritoed, which I'm actually going to add another dash of water to it because I want it to go a little bit more. I can start adding my more liquidious ingredients. The evaporated milk is going to go in at the end because it's also going to act as a thickening agent to bring the sauce together into something that'll stick to the noodles much better. Spam fried rice. I for a long time I was really down on Spam. Spam has a bad reputation here in the old U.S. of A. where it originated. But if you just use it right, it's pretty good. It's just that you can't slap it into every old thing. It's got its place. You've got to respect its own flavors when you're cooking with it, or it'll really clash. I've got multiple like recipe panels up here. They're all slightly different. Is the thing. So I'm taking their advice, but I'm also sort of combining them. Oh, I always forget. I've got my camera pointed at something that there's nothing happening. So it's a very smooth blended tomato sauce with the bare minimum of seasoning in it, which is what I was looking for. So it's got some of that natural tomato sweetness still in it. Give it a good dollop of tomato, or not tomato, of banana ketchup, which adds a lot more sweetness. Um, yeah, I think Spam just has a reputation because people used it badly for a long time. And if you use it badly, if you ever had it prepared badly, it can go real south on you. Um, that is something that is a danger. Some fish sauce, which is going to give us some depth. I'm using this in lieu of any sort of broth or stock. Partly because I feel like it's on point with the Philippine region. They use a lot of fish sauce in things other than this recipe. I also think this is going to taste nice. And ultimately, that's the goal. Some tomato paste to amp up my tomatoiness. I got out blue whisk, but tiny whisk can probably handle this. He is the star of the show. Let's stir my sofrito around to be sure it's not burning before I jump in. I think I've got the heat low enough that it's just slowly rendering out, which is perfect. So your friend and mine, the tiniest of whisk. This guy can go away. We're just going to combine this. It's getting redder. You know you've done something right when your completely red tomato sauce becomes more red when you add stuff to it. Could have done this in the bowl, in the pan, but never pass up an excuse to break out tiny whisk. I can probably put the meat back into the vegetables. Gosh, maybe even immediately. I should taste this sauce before I dump it in as well. Taster spoon, taster spoon. Where did you go? There you are. Give this a taste. Ooh, it's got that harsh raw tomato flavor from the tomato paste still, but it's quite sweet. Here's going to be a controversial decision. I think I'm supposed to add sugar to this. Sugar's listed as an ingredient, but it's one of those add everything elements. So I'm going to add a big pinch of sugar and not go overboard. But it does want a little bit of extra sugar. This said actually dark brown sugar and a tablespoon, which is about a healthy pinch. So actually, I could have used just molasses for that. I'm going to add just a dollop, just a tiny dollop of molasses. And that much more. Probably if I was making this straight, without following the recipe, I would skip the white sugar and just do the molasses because it would add a bit more of a dimension to the flavor. I also actually think it needs more fish sauce. I think it's a little bit flat. And fish sauce will help add depth to it, so we'll do that. Get that mixed in as well. Fish sauce is one of those things that if you're not familiar with it, and you open it up and you taste it, you will immediately react like, why would anyone eat this? Why would anyone put this in anything? It tastes bad by itself. And it does. By itself, it's gross. Mix it into something, and it creates this lovely umami. Umami. We're adding our meat back to our sofrito. I might have to do this in a larger pan. We're filling up this pan quite a bit here. Uh, yes, like vanilla, except vanilla if you get like a whole vanilla pod and bite into it, it's got that vanilla flavor in a really, really super concentrate. Vanilla extract has uh, an extractive alcohol that really ruins the flavor. That cooks off as soon as you try to cook it in anything. Just it's an ultra volatile alcohol. Um, Ketchup, hot dogs, tomato sauce, pork, garlic, onions. There's already salt in the frito. Gonna add a little bit of black pepper. But yeah, vanilla is one of those things where you buy the vanilla off the shelf, try to use it, or taste it to see what it tastes like, and you'd be like, I would never use this. It doesn't taste good. But then it melds into things and becomes this delicious flavor. So in that way, yes, it is very similar in terms of an ingredient. Um, there's a bunch of ingredients like that. Shrimp paste is like that. Have you ever had a spoonful of shrimp paste? Don't. It's horrifying. Um, I've seen people on YouTube doing shrimp paste as an eating challenge. Just a spoonful of normal shrimp paste. See if they can hold a straight face. Stuff is powerful. Uh, okay, I'm gonna add my sauce. I probably would have done this in the wok, except that this sauce, because it's got tomato in it, is going to be very acidic, and it's going to eat the coating off of my wok. So I'm doing this in a non-stick to preserve that. Okay, and now that needs to, it's actually not as liquidy as I think it was meant to be, because I was told it's supposed to boil a little bit. Um, oh, yeah, took me a sec to figure out what, streamer brain, I'm just rambling. Um, Goldie's reacting to the spoonful of shrimp paste. Yeah. Yeah. That one I've tasted shrimp paste, but ooh boy. That one's rough. I found one better though, or I found one rougher. I think it's actually a Philippine ingredient as well. Um, I'll show you. We've got to say. Oh, I'm on the wrong panel again. I keep creating the strange cameras. I'm going to change this one because I got something to show you. The milk might thin it out, but the milk doesn't get added until this has a chance to sort of cook together a bit. So we've got a minute before we go at it. I also think this needs something spicy in it. I'm pretty sure one of the ingredients, if I got the actual Philippine version, is meant to have some kind of peppery spice to it. So because at the moment this is just kind of sweet savory, but I think it needs some punch. Um. Oh well, I've never had Japanese spaghetti. I've had this. There's a fast food place that serves this actually. Um, this thing, shrimp fry. As you can see, it's pink. Um, and yeah, no, it's not. It's not actually pink. It's got pink dye in it because they love putting their pink. They love putting their food dyes in things. This stuff I didn't understand from the simple title, shrimp fry. I thought it was like a fried shrimp paste. No, 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 no. This is baby shrimp. These are itsy bitsy tiny shrimp. I think they might be brine shrimp. But they're like millimeter sized itty bitty shrimps packed in salt and a little bit of vinegar and pink color. Um, they add a very strong, like very strong savory punch and saltiness to whatever you put them in. They work a lot like this stuff, fish sauce, but boo boy, they pack a wallop. So I've been using them a little bit slowly. The things I've used them in, they're good, but I have to get creative and have a mind for them. They're not something I can just toss into whatever, because they bring a whole train to the party. Um, they're not fermented. That's the thing. Like shrimp paste is a fermented thing. That's what gives it its strong. These guys are not fermented. They're just whack. I get you. Um, I did. I wasn't something I made on stream. It was something that I made that I said after I made it. Damn, I should have done that on stream. It was another Philippine dish. It was a braised beef shank, like a section of beef shank. And they weren't mixed into the sauce. The recipe called for a dollop of that stuff on the top after you made it, which you then like use to season each bite. It was strange and it made for a very striking plating with this sort of pink dollop on the side of your bean and eggplant and beef shank stewed thing. It was very tasty. Um, but yeah, the more I dive into it, the more kind of odd things I find like that are like, ooh, I can see where you can use it, but I can also see where you couldn't use it. Um, so yes, you said Japanese spaghetti served with Tabasco. I don't have Tabasco, but I have some other hot sauces. I've also just got some chili powder. Um, I should taste this stuff before I start throwing things at it. I do want it to taste nice, so I'm not just blindly following the recipe. It seems less liquidy than I think it's supposed to be at this stage. Ooh, wow. It tastes interesting. It needs some water that I'm then going to cook right back out of it, but I'm adding some water that I then intend to boil back out of it. Bring the heat up a little bit. Because I want this to cook together a little bit more. In particular, the pork was just done, and I would like the pork to be completely done. Like, it's not raw, but it's for ground pork. I definitely want to cook it a little bit more than it's been, so it needs a little bit more time on the heat. And I can think about it's very sweet, but also very savory. And I think it needs a little bit of spice to. I think I'm going to start volcanoing in the middle by the look of that big bubble. Should have done this in a pot with high sides. I've never had real Cincinnati chili, so I'm not sure. It is pretty sweet, but it also is very savory. It's got both elements coming forward pretty prominently. But yeah, I think it needs something spicy. I think it's too. It's got depth, but I think it needs some bite. Do we just add cayenne powder to it? The hot sauces I have on hand are sriracha, which brings a lot of flavor to the party. I've got some tapatio, which is going to be quite outside the flavor realm. I've got some crystal, which is pretty generically flavored. It's just cayenne peppers and vinegar. Um, in theory, tapatio is just peppers and vinegar too, but it always tastes a little more Mexican-y. Um, Sriracha is valuable. Is there a sriracha shortage? I wasn't even aware. I've still got my bottle. Um, okay, that's bubbling properly. We're not volcanoing up. Um, a pepper crop failed. Damn you! What will climate change take next? Oh yeah, top story. Well, not top story because it's been drowned out by the other top story. Um, due to weather conditions affecting the quality of chili peppers, they're suspending production for the summer. Damn, that's that's um that's rough. I guess I'll cherish what I've got. I've only got about that much left of this guy. I should head down to the Asian market on the corner and see if they've got a bottle I can pick up real quick. I've got other hot sauces. I've got this Gringo Bandito from Mexico and California somehow. This stuff is really hot. Um, I could add a dollop of this without adding much flavor. Um, this is flavored with Bhut Jolokia, the Indian ghost chili. So it's very, very hot. So I think I could just add a little dollop of this. And it won't add a ton of flavor compared to the amount of heat that it'll bring to the party. Um, so I won't disrupt my flavor profile by adding some spice. So I'm going with that one. Also, India is not that far away from the Philippines geographically. They could probably get a hold of ghost chilies if they wanted them. I don't know what kind of. Actually, I do know what kind of peppers they use in the Philippines because I had to do that research for those dynamite lumpia, and I was unable to find the correct kind of pepper because it's some specific local variety. um, so that was annoying. So yeah, I guess there's going to be a run on sriracha. If you don't have a bottle of sriracha and you want some, I would say go out and find some soonish, and don't do what people did with the Dame toilet paper. Just get one bottle. One bottle will probably last you. You don't need to stock up. It does. It is perishable. It will spoil. Um, okay, I need to taste my sauce since I've added a little bit of heat to it. Ooh, ooh, oh my! The heat is real subtle. I think I added just the right amount. It's got a little bit of burn on the back of your throat, but it's very sweet up front. I think all the sweetness. But that The flavor has melded since I last tasted it. Since it's been sitting there bubbling, the flavor is just like fusing together. Ooh. It's still distinctly very sweet, but it's also very savory, and it's ooh, I love it. I'm loving it. It's raining. Not raining here. Tapatio. I usually don't have Tapatio, but they were selling Tapatio on the discount bin, and I got one for 75 cents. Um, so I grabbed it. My go-to hot sauce is actually usually Crystal because it's very generic. So I can add other things to it to bring it up to another, into other realms. Um, Not so much an endorsement of Crystal as it is a description of Crystal. Um, the Gringo Bandito stuff I also got out of the discount bin. I probably would not have bought that. This one, on the other hand, I did buy specifically. You may be familiar with Buldak noodles. Well, they sell their hot sauce in a little bottle too. Um, this stuff packs a punch, but it's also got a ton of flavor. This is literally the sauce they use in their packaged noodles. Um, and that little guy is acting out what you will be doing when you take a swig of this hot sauce. Um, I'm going through this one really slowly. Uh, it's it's got a kick. But it's like all of the Korean hot sauces. It's got a great deal of flavor. Zelda, first time chat from Zelda. Welcome in. I was just doing the chit chat and talking about hot sauces because this stuff is taking some time to get to know itself. I think we're nearly there. I just want to make sure that the pork is fully cooked through to my liking. And then we're going to add the milk. So yeah, we just got on talking about hot sauces because we have a little bit of a lead time before that's ready. Um, what up? What new? Dive in with questions if you're a latecomer and want to know what the heck any of this is. Oh, uh, I like prepack. I actually quite like prepackaged salads. Um, I find them easier to portion out than just buying raw lettuce. I've got a head of raw lettuce in here that I'm about to throw away because I didn't eat enough of it before went all wilty, and now it's just like wilt. Uh, I feel like my camera may have gotten bumped at some point. Hmm. A whole bag of salad mix for dinner. Now that I'm a little bit, maybe not, maybe not a little. Nah. Um, let's see, my noodles are all dried out. We're actually going to have to combine this in a larger bowl because I'm not going to be able to toss the noodles in there with the sauce. So this would be the advantage of doing it in the wok. Is the wok would be is itself a big bowl. I left those noodles a little bit too long. They've dried out just a touch, so they will be happy to meet the hot sauce. It'll help loosen them up. Uh, yeah, I've tried buying whole heads, and I always end up throwing part of them away. I never get to them before they go off. I'm not a huge fan of lettuce to begin with, so uh, I'm kind of leery on the whole lettuce gang. Uh, like if I'm making tacos, I don't reach for lettuce, I reach for cabbage. And cabbage, on the other hand, by comparison, you'd think, oh, it's a leafy head. But no, a head of cabbage will stay in your fridge forever. I've never thrown out a head of cabbage. Um, okay, our bottom of our sauce is starting to stick just a little bit. It comes up as soon as I scrape it with spatula. But I think that's a sign that our liquid is low. And since our flavor is well combined, I'm now going to add half of that evaporated milk. Get it stirred in. And let it, once again, get to know itself. We lost our red color. We lost our red color immediately. Now it's orange. We did it. We got orange. Okay. Now we don't want to cook out the evaporated milk too much now that it's in there. But I do want to give it a chance to re-bruttle and re-get to know itself. Yeah, the red hot dogs stand out a little bit more now that the background is turned a little bit orange. That's fun. So evaporated milk. I've recently discovered this stuff. I mean, I always knew about it, but I've discovered more uses for it. It you can make a cheese sauce, like for mac and cheese, using evaporated milk as a base. Uh, it acts a lot like cream. No, I don't have. It's the brand I'm using is Bar S Red Franks. The recipe called specifically for Filipino red hot dogs, which I was entirely unable to find. But I was able to do a little bit of research on them, and they are non-beef hot dogs that are dyed red. So I found the next closest thing, which was non-beef hot dogs that are dyed red. Um, but yeah, the stuff acts a lot like cream, but with less fat. It has a similar thickness to cream, but it's got a lot less fat proportionally. So you can use it in places that you would use cream and not get quite as heavy of a result. But yeah, some evaporated milk with some cheese in a pan, Evaporated milk will help melt in the cheese, and you can make a decent cheese sauce out of it. Got about half a can here. I'm gonna, I don't know, put that in my coffee tomorrow morning or something. I wish evaporated. The one thing that always gets me about it is that it comes in normal cans. I wish it came in some kind of reclosable container, because I would love to get a bigger container of it and then use part of it. But oh well, I guess. I'm sure it's being used here because this is feels very much based on a bolognese, and a traditional bolognese from Bologna uses milk or cream in the sauce. But in the Philippines, they don't have grazing for cattle. So fresh milk would be much harder to come by, and you wouldn't be using it in a recipe like this. Whereas the canned stuff can be easily imported. So, like a bunch of other canned things that they latched onto, I'm sure that's why it's being used here, because they know it goes in this. They knew, as they were trying to recreate this, I put this all together with their local flavors. They knew they needed this creamy component to it, and they used the version that they had. I wonder if you could do this with coconut milk. Again, I'm trying to make this one actually work the way I think it's supposed to, rather than get creative. We might revisit this and try to do it with other ingredients like coconut milk. I've taken it off the heat. Which means we're coming up to the fun part. Whole thing. Oop, I dripped immediately. I should use that spatula and the other spatula. Perfect. I've got two spatulas already dirty. So the pictures of this being prepared, it was stirred together like this in a wok, but like in a big dish, off the heat. This isn't a noodles with sauce on top dish. This is a mix it all together dish. Boy, those red hot dogs, they make themselves known. Uh, that's easily enough for two generous bowls, so I'm gonna have leftovers. Let's get it plated, though. Pasta, bright red color. There's only one plate we could possibly have for this. The oversized white guys. And then we... damn, right on the edge. Right on the edge. Get in there. Yeah. Okay, well. One of the secrets of food photography, paper towels. Many paper towels. I want a good proportion of both the sauce. A lot of the chunky part of the sauce fell to the bottom, so get that scooped up on the top there. Lick my fingers off. I like the flavor of this stuff, which is good because I'm going to be eating it. And if I didn't like it, I'd be very sad. Get my paper towels, which I left in the other room here. That guy, I'm going to give it a wiggle. Try to get it to flatten out a bit. And I, of course, immediately smush the edges by doing so. Don't stand quite so tall, bud. Fork in. Final ingredient. Now, this is very important. Cheese. I couldn't find the exact brand. The exact brand that apparently you're supposed to use is Eden brand cheese, which, near as I can tell, is Velveeta but a different name. So here we go. Processed American cheese, shredded, is the cheese of choice. This happens to be Borden brand. And there you go. That is. Oops, I knocked my tasty spoon. That is my nearest approximation, following the recipe and the directions and all the ingredients of Philippine sweet spaghetti. I'm going to take a picture of it before I dive in. So bear with me while I swoop around to the other room here, where my photo stand is. Nope. There's a fly in my photo room. That's not what I wanted to see. Hopefully he won't get in the photo. The other secret to food photography is take like 100 photos. Just take a bazillion different photos of this thing. 60% of them are going to be out of focus. Unless you've got a really nice camera. And I don't. I've got a tablet camera I'm using. So rather than try to set up a perfectly focused shot, oops, that was the wrong switch. Take a million shots, and then I delete the ones that are out of focus. Okay, it looks pretty good. I've got enough for another wholesome serving, which I can pack away easily. I've got a lot of empty containers right now. But you don't want me to hear me talk about it without tasting it. So let's dig in and see if I did a good job. It's a lot better than the last time I tried to make this stuff. That's for damn sure. The hot dogs aren't clashing. Using beef hot dogs the last time was definitely a source of the mistake, one of the big mistakes. These pork chicken hot dogs don't leap out as a separate thing trying to fight for space inside this dish. So that's good. It's creamy. It definitely has some spice. I'm glad I added that hot sauce because it definitely has a bite to it. Um, Interestingly, for all the various very sweet things I put in there, it's not overwhelmingly sweet at this stage. It's definitely sweet, but I think it balances with the amount of savory ingredients that are in there. So it's a really like dynamic sweet savory flavor. Um, Putting it on the noodles at the end helped a lot too. The sauce just completely by itself in the pan was a little too sweet, but I think the starchiness of the noodles helps balance it out quite well. So this is definitely one of those things where you gotta finish plating it to get the proper flavor. I like it. I would do this again. It's a good thing I got an extra. I would do this again. I might even be willing to do experiments on this one now that I've got a handle about where I think it's supposed to be. Uh, I do think it needs something green. I might want to like throw a green onion sliced up real thin, sort of put that through the sauce right at the end while it's still broiling, so there's little bits of green in there, but they still kind of cook down. Maybe a little bit of parsley. I didn't throw. There weren't a lot of herbs and spices in this, other than the ones that were already in a couple of the pre-made sauces. So you could probably zhuzh this up with some basil, um, although that might take it more toward the Italian end of flavor. But yeah, it's unique. I'll tell you what it does not taste like right now: Italian food. Got way back at the beginning. If I scroll up, Bookwoman, you said kind of like weird spaghettios. You know what? You're not wrong. This tastes like if you tried to take canned hot dogs and spaghettios, but make it into real food. I think that's where we got with this. Because it's not that flat, dull, boring Chef Boyardee tomato liquid. It's got a lot of dimension to it. I think the fish sauce helped a lot too. But it's got a lot of dimension to it. But ultimately, that's the realm I think it's coming from and sort of settling into. Um, which goes to show you, even things that seem like you never save them, like canned Chef Boyardee, they come from somewhere without having to completely betray what they are. There's something that's like them. Uh, so I'd say if you liked those as a kid, and I did like those as a kid, you might like this as an adult because this is a more dynamic, complex flavor in that realm. I like it. I like it. I'm glad I revisited this because I really did not like it the first time I made it. It clashed strongly. I think the tomato ketchup is much more acidic than banana ketchup, and I think the finished sauce was too acidic, and the beef hot dogs clashed very strongly. Uh, yeah. So you can't even see the thumbs up. Thumbs up. Two thumbs up. Uh, I'm going to call that a victory against the forces of food in my book. I do want to get to it while it's still warm for my dinner, which we've just come up on a good time for. So let's go see who we can drop off the crew at. As before, I am open to suggestions as we raid. because we had good luck with that in the past. And I would appreciate your joining me in the raid, even if you have to drop out. Uh, it makes Twitch happy, and it'll make whoever we drop off into happy as well. Oh, that's very important, Goldie. Don't let me hold you up on that. And thanks for being here. I think we will raid Chemical. Chemical's raided us a few times. We can give him a raid back. He's playing Horizon Zero Dawn, which is very exciting. Robot dinosaur adventure. If you like robots and you like dinosaurs, you might just like Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't have a raid message. I've never taken the time to craft one, so I don't have a raid message. But I appreciate everyone being here. We are right on the cusp of getting up to that affiliate qualifier. We had a follow today. I don't call out followers by name unless they jump into the chat, but thank you for the follow. That's good. Everybody can just copy that one. Goldie has created a raid message. If you just copy paste Goldie's raid message, we can drop that off. Chemical will also knows that we're a food channel, so he'll get it. Yeah, I also don't have a post show, so we are going to. I usually wait for the timer. Yeah, 10 seconds. Okay. Well, I will be back for sure on Saturday morning for brunch. See you then.